everybody, and welcome to a very special Smoke and Mirrors. Today's episode is brought to you by a very special episode of The Fresh Prince, a very special episode of Punky Brewster, and a very special episode of Different Strokes. So you know we're in for a good time. And now, here's a song. Oh, that's my jam. 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 That's my That's my jam. 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 And now here they are. Your invenerable host, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. Bevy, get one. Get one. We'll be back in a second with all the stuff we're gonna do today. We see you there, Bo. Thank you so much for being here as ever. Josh had it right. It was a regular opening, lest the runner joke today. We were in the writer's room and didn't find anything funny. Hey, coming up on April 1st, guess what? I can see you live. You can see me live. We can hear each other's voices, interact, build community. And we can do that at a workshop and training I am offering along with my co-host with the co-most, Teresa Logan. It is called Beyond DEI, Beyond Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. DEI, a phrase that I try to avoid very ardently because if you rearrange those letters, guess what? It spells die. A white person came up with that shit. Confronting white affirmative action and anti-blackness in professional spaces. It is not you, it's the system. Register today. Come get some. This is Smoke and Mirrors. We do stuff here. These are all the ways you could support us. Yeah, there's a Venmo, there's a Cash App, there's a PayPal. You could drop a $5 there if you feel like it. You don't gotta. It's not a requirement of any sort. There's a Patreon. We have patrons here. They know what it's like on days like this. You'll know what we mean when we get there. And that's Patreon Smoke and Mirrors at CCB. That is normally for the comedy, the culture, and the blackness. Today, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Man, we really needed to spend more time in the writer's room. Can't even think of a C word that really gets to it today, but it is still for the culture and for the blackness. And so there you go. Like and subscribe on the channels on which you see it. Hopefully Facebook is one of those today. I don't know. My page is being targeted by the algorithms again. Because I made a post. I am in a form today. I had promised you performance and a conversation with the one and only Alonzo Chadwick. We rescheduled. Alonzo will be back very, very generously. Gave over his time. I asked a couple of other friends of mine if either one of them would be willing to be here with me today. Kareen was the first one I asked, and she is willing but unable to be here. until much later this evening, or maybe Thursday. And Frank also was unable to be here today. So I'm going to be here today. And the reason I'm going to be here today, as many of you know, as many of you do not, I am from Boulder, Colorado, where the most recent mass shooting took place. And to be more specific, I am from South Boulder, Colorado. To be even more specific, I am from Table Mesa. I was born and raised in that area. First on the deep south side of South Boulder, over on South 46th Street, in the backyard of the very humble house in which I grew up, was the National Army Reserve. Across the street from it, the Mormon Church. Between the backyard that my parents worked very hard to acquire, were able to make the purchase with a loan of $1,000 from my grandmother Alicia. There was a fence, 3-foot wire fence, and behind that there was a 6-foot fence with barbed wire on top of it. And then, hey, Chantrell, what going on? What going on? So good to see you, family. So good to see you, family. And then side that, it meant that we saw the Army whenever they were doing the National Guard, whenever they were doing their formations and tank formations. That was just a sight. That was it's a Saturday thing that's gonna happen some Saturdays. And if a frisbee or a ball got thrown too far, guess what? It was often in the Army Reserve. When I grew up there, it was a very, very different city. It is a wealthy city now. It was a white city always. When I grew up there, it was a working class turning into a wealthier city. It was very just regular working class. I know what unshowered white kids smell like from being in class with them. I know what their greasy hair smells like. It's unpleasant. And I know where King Soopers is, because it is the only grocery store in South Boulder that remained in business and has remained in business without fail consecutively since it opened. Next to it was an Albertsons for a time. That then converted to for a short time, it was a Goodwill shop. Then it was a Sprouts for quite some time. And I believe it is now a Whole Foods that is behind there that you may have seen on the news yesterday. Soups has been there throughout. And yesterday in the news was the first time in a long time that I had seen Colorado and that I had seen Boulder more specifically in the national news. I had seen some tweets about what happened in Aurora being right down the street from what happened in Boulder. Just to clarify, that's right down the street Texas talk. That is not truly right down the street at all. You're talking about a good 45 minutes an hour and 15 to 25 minute drive, depending on traffic. down the street. So it's not down the street at all. Not to say that it's not gun culture where I live. It is. My older sister lives on a block called Gun Barrel. Gun Barrel, which if you're from there, you say Gun Barrel because it's embarrassing to have streets named things like Gun Barrel because of things like what happened yesterday. This is Ahamad al Alilwi Alissa. He's a 21-year-old Syrian, and reportedly was a known entity to the F and the B and the I, according to the New York Times. And there's a thing that you might notice about him after he got done shooting 10 people in King Soopers, which is that he is walking out of King Soopers in handcuffs and his underpants, because while he is a Syrian who was known to the FBI, to look at him, you would think that maybe he is a Boulder white guy hippie, because white people have convinced themselves that even Jennifer Lopez in the appropriate role can be white or Italian, as can The Rock. So why would this person be anything other than white? It is not a complicated test in terms of understanding how he was able to walk out of the store. It is the same test with which the young man who had just shot up the massage parlors in Atlanta was so successful, passed like it was an SAT in a rich white neighborhood. And the same test that was failed so miserably by so many that it's truly hard to get into. It's hard to get into, and it keeps happening over and over and over and over again. And it did at this store. I have a lot of memories at this store, and I think the reason I'll let you know the reason that I wanted to maybe share this moment with either Corinne or Frank is that each of them is also a survivor of the Columbine massacre, of the Columbine shooting, which was in the United States, the first mass school shooting of its kind. And while they are a few years younger than me, they are also Coloradans who really are, they saw this chapter of American history that has become all too familiar, open. And I wanted to talk with them a bit about recovery and a bit about what it means to know that for some of the people who listen and watch, uh, the reality is that this has been happening in schools longer than and in the United States longer than they've been alive. There has never been a time, a year in the life of my child that there has not been a mass shooting in the United States, and that has happened everywhere. It's happened at schools, from Columbine to schools in Florida. It's happened at massage parlors. It's happened at churches. It's happened on the streets. And now it has happened in the grocery store that is the one where my father shops today. This is the grocery store where I, as a child, and anyone who grew up in South Boulder as a child, if you went there, you would go to the bakery in the back, and they would just give you, without question or announcement, just reach over the counter and hand you a cherry chocolate chip cookie. My cousins Steve and Kevin and myself went and got some in celebration of my mother's life and passing a few years ago, and they are disgusting. They're gross. They're foul. It's nasty. But it was a sweet memory, and it was a sweet gesture from South Boulder. We could walk up there. It was, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of a mile from that house. When I was 15, we moved to the other side of Table Mesa, still in South Boulder, over by the kids who went to Fairview, a few blocks away from Amy Fontenot's house, and over on an avenue that is one of the ones that my father lives on today, the name of which is none of your fucking business. But it is in that general area, in the lake area over there, which again, just a stone's throw from King Soopers, maybe 3/4 mile, right? Definitely walking distance still. As it has modernized, there's now a lovely coffee shop in the back, Cafe Soleil. Not of the store itself, but of the same property. There's a restaurant where, with my mother and father, I would have brunch quite regularly. There, if there is a memory in a store that I have in Colorado, outside of the creation of alfalfas, which then turned into Whole Foods and got bought out, very Microsoft kind of an issue, whatever the fuck, they're in the store. They're in the store. And so, though Boulder is whiter than the snow that falls in Boulder, this one cuts deep. Nanu. This one cuts deep. Seeing the community coming out and coming together does my heart good. Does my father's heart good. These are both photos that he took today. The last one that was up there, and this one as well, where we are doing our best princess dive for the folks who passed, bringing flowers to the gate. That's what you do since 1992. That's how you do it. Cards as well. Very glad that that's happening. Um, very glad that that's happening. Uh, this King Soopers is one in which something else happened, and I've never spoken of it publicly because of some complications to the reality of how it happened. Allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. All of this is allegedly. Um, and let's just compare uh what happened here with what happened yesterday. And see if we feel that the response was in equal measure by the police. There may have been a young 23-year-old person who looked an awful lot like a Cypress Hillish version of me somewhere in the 1990s. Perhaps in the wintertime, who was making a quick errand through a certain grocery store, through a certain King Soopers, aforementioned, wherein they perhaps pilfered a donut, began munching it a bit while they were in the store, bought a birthday card, and pocketed a bit of Vizine. Vizine, you do know what Vizine is, do you not? Vizine, you put it in your eyes and it takes the red out. And perhaps the Vizine was the thing that had been seen by the giant white hippie man who was at the other end of the aisle. Who, though I did go through the checkout, that got very OJ. That got very OJ for a second. Because I said, like this happened to me. It didn't. Paid for the card and even the donut. And did my bestie best. Okay, allegedly. Let's just throw an allegedly on all of it now. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was me. Let's just say it was me allegedly, though. No, it wasn't me. To keep the Vizine in the pocket and pretend-ish that I just forgot to pay for it if, in fact, anything went askew, which it did very quickly when at the exit to the door of the King Soopers, that which I had shown just a few slides ago behind the gate, that one, there was met by this muscle-bound Herculoid of a human and was walked briskly back into the store and in back behind the bakery where they gave me delicious cherry chip cookies. There was no chocolate. Cherry chip cookies. And then I went upstairs to where they take the criminals and the shoplifters. And then they said, well, what did you take? And I said, well, I guess the donut might count. Because the Vizine was still in a pocket, and he said, just give it to me, it's gonna make it easier on you. And then I had this policy. See, I grew up in a house where if you were able to toe the party line of the house, you were winning. And so, towing the party line was the thing I could do. And the party line being, I didn't take anything that day. I just stuck with the party line. And he did not like that. And so he went, and I said, okay. But then it was too late because then he went, and then he felt the vazine. And then that's when the police perhaps came up to the room. And when the police were up in the room, what had happened is that I had asked, would it be okay with you if I were to go ahead and just sign that card? If that would, since I did pay for it, you've got the receipt. And they thought I was funny. I am, but I did sign it. And then, so after I signed it, they said to me, hey, listen, you don't have, and you look like a good kid. I didn't. You don't have anything else on you, do you? Because then we could just be done here. And I said, nah, I don't got nothing else on me. And he said, okay. So if I search you, I'm not going to find anything illegal. And I said, no, you're not going to find anything illegal. Now, what was happening was that I was telling the truth. I was telling the truth about if it were today, because in the year of the Lord 20 and 21 AD, also in 20 and 20 and 2019 and 2018, it would have been true that the thing that would have been then, when the police had allegedly Jessica, been patting on my patty pack pockets, pulled out the 1/4 ounce of weed that I had allegedly purchased from friends of mine who allegedly lived in South Boulder, allegedly just a couple of blocks away from the South Recreation Center. And allegedly, I had purchased that 1/4 just allegedly before I went to the grocery store in the first motherfucking place, so I could allegedly get a birthday card and a donut and some Visine, because when I allegedly purchased the weed in the first place, maybe my eyes were allegedly very red. And now this was allegedly before I knew I even had MS, and nobody, including myself, understood why I was able to smoke so much more weed than everybody else that I came across. Allegedly. So he may have patted down my pockets. The policeman did. And I'll tell you a secret. The police are a little bit more thorough than are the security guards. Because, boy, that cop found that weed. And then he said, oh, boy, we're going to have to call in your name. And you know what? We'll still just go ahead and forget about it. And that's when my brain broke, because what I remembered is that a misanthrope, and as a person who maybe, especially as a young person, had a problem with the idea of there being laws. And maybe one time on the res, I got a ticket, allegedly. And maybe while I was leaving the res, it was given to me by a white man, but the white man maybe gave it to me while I was still on the res. And so as far as I was concerned, fuck you, because res laws. And well, Arizona saw it a little bit differently based on a 150-yard difference that I couldn't prove one way or the other, because this maybe was behind a time way before there was any such of a thing as having a camera on a phone. And so then because what happened is when the cop left and then I started driving off, if I allegedly tore the ticket in 4 pieces and threw it out the window and then just drove off in the wind, Thelma and Louise style, feeling real badass, and me and all my friends were feeling real badass. When that memory came back to me, because I had forgotten about that. That was a good year ago. I mean, forget that shit, right? Come on, it's in the past. That memory came back to me when this police friendly said to me, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna run your name now." And then I thought to myself, "Oh boy, am I going to jail?" And I was right. I was right. And then in well, as as I was in the back seat in holding, allegedly, it had occurred to me what real shit that I was going to be in once they searched me at the station. If they were to find the bowl with the extra chamber with an extra nugget in it that was freshly packed and had been hit once, and so it had a little burn mark on it, and it was in my pocket still, and so my hands were occupied, and the pipe, maybe I got it from out of the pocket of my jacket, and then when they went over to the door to go check us into the holding of the jail, allegedly at Boulder County, I may have snuck over to the side and just snuck the pipe right onto the top of my sock like that there, and then sat right back up and stretched a little bit and acted like maybe I was just having a hard time sitting in there, as they were saying, "What a good kid like you doing in a place like this. Now you gotta learn a lesson." I was thinking, oh, please don't beat my ass. Then I got out and they said, "Okay, now take off your socks and shoes." And I said, "Huh?" And they said, "Yeah, well, you're going to have to take off your socks and shoes now." And I said, "Okay." And no, I'm sorry. First they took the jacket off and the cuffs, and then they said, "Okay, now take off your socks and shoes." And I said, "Okay, doke." And I took off my shoes, and they said, "Now take off your socks and shake them like this." And so I took off my socks, and as I was taking off my sock, I dropped the pipe down into the toe of the sock. And then I took the other sock off by the toe. And then I went like that. And they said, "Okay, put them back on." And so then I just slid them back on. And then the pipe was under my toe, where it hurt a lot to stand on. Again, it was brass. So then we had to walk into holding, and they printed me, and I was in holding, and I made a call. And I said to them, I said, "Hey, person who's on the other end of this phone call, who maybe is my sister, could you do me a little bit of a favor and pop me up, give me a call back real quick here, and maybe get me the fuck out of here." And then I did get she did. But here's what happened when they were letting me out is that the jail people who did turned out they did not beat me. I just sat in holding for a good 3 hours with brass pipe filled with weed under my foot. And so then I was getting out of there. Yes, allegedly my sister. Allegedly my sister. It could have been any black girl from Mississippi with a Jeep. So with a truck. It could have been any. So the jail people, when she did pay for the bail, what they'd said to her is that I had been let out already. And then they waited a minute, and then they let me out later after they saw her leave the gate of the jail, which is ironically very, very, very far from South Boulder. It is on the other side of Boulder in North Boulder, which is not the same as South Boulder, and in fact, with no sort of transit system worth a shit in 1990 and 3, 2, 1 ish. 3, 2, 1, contact. It's a feeling. Um, I was fucked. And so, but then I got out and they gave me my jacket and they gave me the card that I had signed and they gave me my shoes. And as I was putting them on, I slid the pipe from under my foot to the side of my sock again and stood up and said, "A good day, sir." And I walked out and saw that Jeep driving away from across a field, and I sprinted 200 yards. See, they didn't know that I was a sprinter. 200 yards and waving my arms and sprinting. And again, I was very Cypress Hillian. Big beard, giant pants. You have to know that there was so much flannel involved. Glasses. No, I was a young person. And she saw me and stopped. And I got in the car. And then we drove back to South Boulder. And driving back to South Boulder, back to my parents' house, necessitated driving back past King Soopers, because you cannot get to my parents' house now without driving past King Soopers. And so we drove past it, as I had explained that what had happened, and that it all began because as I was standing there looking at the Vazine with my bit of donut in my mouth, I was singing in my head the song from Aladdin. One step ahead of the bad guy, one hand ahead of the sword. I steal only what I can afford, and that's everything. And so it was either birthday card or Visine. Now, as a good child, as a good son, as the good child in the family, it was important that I have the card. So I made the best choice that I could. I paid for the birthday card. I then could not afford the Vazine. Also, because I believe that we should live in a communist nation in which healthcare is mandatorily paid for by the state, stealing healthcare needs is not actually stealing. And though it's not necessarily a healthcare need, it's more of a luxury of like, how do I not embarrass folks as I go to deliver this birthday card with red eyes? Well, you make them not red anymore. And one way to do that, medically so, if I may say so myself, is Visine. So, we arrived very shortly thereafter to my parents' house, where I celebrated my father's birthday right alongside him, gave him his card, had a piece of cake, and only had to deal with the existential fuckery of just having been to Dante's 7th level of hell a few moments earlier while I was enjoying some German chocolate cake. That said, I don't think that the Vazine and the whole situation is as drastic as this shit. I just want to be clear. And yet, we got the same treatment. Okay. I okay, well, close to the same treatment. I was allowed to walk out in my clothes. I guess I was treated a little better. Point being, if he were brown, uh, or they knew his name while this shit was happening, oh boy, would this have ended quite differently. Oh boy, would this have ended quite differently. Uh, those cookies were gross. Um, my prayers go up to all of the folks who lost somebody at Supers. I haven't seen photos. I don't know that I know anyone. Certainly not by name right now. By face, it may be a different circumstance because I'm very bad with names and faces, and I'm sorry. Uh, Trying to get better. Um, it for every community in which this happens, it is a tragedy, and I know that we numb ourselves to it. We're not numb to it because every time it's a degree closer, you feel it even closer to the chest. Many Coloradans have been through this. Many of my friends have been through this. I know many, many, many refugees, and many who have moved to the United States, who I consider friends who have been through this. And Black folks continue to go through this on a regular basis. This happening in Boulder, that is part of what's weird about it. Gotta say, because wow, it is it is exactly one of those communities that on all the clips that you're going to see on the news, if you've seen any of them at all, you're going to hear white people saying shit like, "It's a surprise that this would happen here. Nothing ever happens here like this." But that was true everywhere prior to the first time that this happened at Columbine. Shortly thereafter that, I was asked to be part of a radio then broadcast discussing Bowling for Columbine. And here we are still talking about it. We are indeed a global village, blessed and cursed to be living in interesting times. Rest in peace to all those who were shot. I wish that we had a better justice system, system of reconciliation and restoration, rather than whatever this dude is gonna be facing. This is gonna be some horrible shit. For everybody who's out there feeling rocked by this, on top of everything else, the fact that, listen, we can't act like we didn't just bomb Syria like 3 weeks ago. We can't pretend like Biden didn't just bomb the fucking shit out of Syria not even a month ago. This motherfucker's been in office 55 days. Couldn't wait to just bomb the shit out of somebody. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Every action except for anti-blackness. At least not yet. But you motherfuckers are running out of time. And I don't know how else to say it anymore. We're running out of words. We're running out of ways. And not bombing other countries would be a great start. That could help. Lowering the colonialism a bit. Repatriation and land reacquisition for native peoples. That would be cute. I don't know. There's so many things we could do. There's so many ways we could play this. Anyway. Don't carry lies in your chest for 30 years. It'll make you sick. 20 years, it'll make you sick. Just tell the truth. Poppy, if this is if you're watching this and this is how you're finding out, I'm sorry. And if any of your friends tell you, I'm sorry. If any of my friends tell you, I'm sorry. If you want to talk about it, we can. We don't have to. Definitely happened on your birthday. Allegedly. I was there for cake. I'm still the good son. I was there for cake. Hey. Would have been so much cooler if I went to jail for like a protest or something. This has been Smoke and Mirrors. Shit. All right, here, let's say the things. Let's say the things like it's a source of entertainment. If you want to see a picture of what we do here or did here or will do here, all the things, go ahead and check it out at the IG. It's Smoke and Mirrors CCB. Smoke and Mirrors CCB at IG. Smoke and Mirrors CCB. That's for comedy. That's for culture. That's for blackness. If you would like to see the words I say, okay, you can. You could do it at Twitter. Twitter is Caballo Negrito. Caballo Negrito for the monolingual amongst you. That translates to running out of time. Caballo Negrito translates literally to running out of time. If you have a thought, a query, a question, a suggestion about a guest that we should have here on Smoke and Mirrors, you can go ahead and give us a write down at smokeandmirrorsccb@gmail.com. Oh boy, this is a fun time, good time, goosey, loosey, loose time, produced by the one and only Tracy Tatamy. This is also produced and hosted by myself, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. Please take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Do not go outside without a mask. In fact, wear two. Get vaccinated. Take care of the people that you're with. We would love to see you back here next time. That is going to be on Thursday. We will reschedule with our guest. And once again, apologies to Alonzo Chadwick. Thank you so much for your understanding, my dear brother and comrade. Okay. I sincerely hope that we'll see you here next time. Many of you as we can. All right. If there's white people in the room, duck.